Hello and welcome to another pregame show. It is Matt O'Leary, Connor Long hanging out with you. Excited to get into this Jets Vikings matchup. Connor, how's it going, my friend?
Matt, super happy to be back. A little 2 week hiatus, and we're still not back in our regular spot. Last week it was your fault. Week three it was my fault. I'm beating you right now, 2-1, but we should be back for the rest of the season after today. Little preview show. I'm out here in London. It's been Jet fan takeover. I've only seen a handful of Vikings fans, while I've seen just a ton of Jet fans. So I'm really looking forward to the game, and I think it's gonna feel like a home game for the Jets.
Yeah, I wanted to ask and start there. You gave a little preview. What's the vibes like right now over in London?
Yeah, like I said, just a ton of Jet fans. It's like I said, it's gonna feel like a home game for the Jets. I think a lot of it overall, we saw the Jets now they're practicing at essentially a hotel at like a country club golf course setting. It's gonna be interesting. The game is at a soccer field, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I'm hearing it's a great field, but obviously we saw it in the Brazil game, this surface. I think that's gonna play a factor in some injuries, and I think that might be one of the main reasons. For example, Jets linebacker CJ Mosley is sidelined again for Sunday's contest.
Absolutely. We'll get through all that. Obviously, with this one, we're doing it a day early because one, Connor's going to the game, and two, figured I don't know how good a 7 a.m. pregame show would do here for us. So figure
Yes.
we do it a day early. We're gonna break it all down, tell you everything you need to know. Did want to mention, I wanted to talk to you guys about Odds Jam. So think risk-free profits from sports betting sounds too good to be true. Well, it's very real, and you can secure your guaranteed profits with Odds Jam's arbitrage betting tool. I'll pull it up and show you guys on the screen here what it is that I'm talking about. So if you take a look, imagine the best way that I could describe it is imagine buying sneakers for $10 and immediately selling them for 20. Arbitrage betting works the same way. Sports books all price their markets differently to stand out. And this creates opportunities for you to bet on both sides of a game and lock in profit no matter who wins or what happens. OzJam scans millions of odds from different sports books, and as soon as it gets an arbitrage opportunity, you get alerted. You get a push notification right to your phone. It's minimal effort, maximum risk-free profit. Don't just take my word for it. Try it with a 7-day free trial. Use the link below down in the description and enter code O'Leary for 35% off your first month. So definitely something that you guys will want to check out there. Appreciate OddsJam for sponsoring the video today. All right, Connor, let's hop into this game here. What's your expectations for this one? Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the bad luck charm going to these games, as the Denver one certainly leaves a sour taste in our mouth.
Yeah, so this is a really interesting game. Like I said, it's London overseas. The Jets got the better end of the travel bargain coming from New York, rather Minnesota. What I will say is I think the defensive line is going to be such a key part of this game because you look, they've struggled to stop the run, and Aaron Jones is someone I've said it on my shows leading up to the game. Is the Vikings are not afraid to just pound the ball right up the middle with Aaron Jones, time in and time out, just pound the rock, and that's something the Jets have struggled to do all season, which is interior run stuffing. And also, you can't really blitz because Sam Darnold, I have his numbers here. When he's blitzed, he is, let's see, 18 for 20. I don't have here it is, 18 for 20, 335 yards, and 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. So it's really tough because they're going to want to stop the run, and then they can't blitz because, Darnold has so much success. I think a lot of the defensive game plan is going to have to be based on a trial and error kind of process. Maybe they start off blitzing early. Darnold shows his true colors. He struggles against the blitz, and the Jets stick with that for the rest of the game. They're having success. Or maybe they start off, in just regular pass coverage, and Darnold's, just lighting them up. They have to kind of transfer to the blitz. So I think a lot of it's going to be trial and error, but that's definitely an interesting matchup on the defensive line there.
Yeah, that's, I think, a key to this game. And one of the big things I'm looking for is because against Denver, they did a really good job against Bo Nix. They only allowed, 65 passing yards against,
Yes.
but they didn't get any pressure. And while they were able to have success against that Denver team, that's not going to translate well against Minnesota if they are not getting pressure. You mentioned the numbers with the blitz and how Sam Darnold has been able to get the ball out quick and get in those playmakers' hands. I think the Jets are going to have to get creative here in order to get home and get that pressure, because as good as Darnold has played this year, and he has played well, I don't want to take anything away from him.
Yeah.
The turnovers has still been there a little bit. He has 3 picks. He's fumbled the ball 4 times as well. So this is something that I think they could potentially take advantage of in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I will say, I think the Jets do need to trust their secondary. DJ Reed, Sauce Gardner. Sauce Gardner already came out and said earlier this week that Justin Jefferson is the best wide receiver in football, period. So I think one of the main things, the Jets have such a talented secondary, like I said, Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed, Michael Carter II. I think it's investing trust in those guys.
Absolutely. We have a caller on the line. You want to get to our first call of the day here?
Let's do it. We got a legend here, V-Man, joining the show. V-Man, how you doing?
What's up? I see you're across the pond.
Yes, I am here in London, V-Man. What are your overall thoughts on the game? Obviously, Jets coming off a rough 10-9 loss, home favorites against the Denver Broncos. Bo Nix, first player in the Super Bowl era, win a game while averaging less than 2.5 yards per attempt. Will McDonald, he was the only one who pressured him. 4 pressures. Jets recorded no sacks. V-Man, what were your thoughts on last week's game, and what did the Jets need to do different on Sunday?
I don't want to think about last week's game. It'd be better off.
Fair.
Yep.
Honestly, what I think about this game is, I think they just got punched in the mouth last week. They got a little they sniffed. I think they got a little overconfident. I don't think they showed up. I don't think they were prepared for the weather, and they went in expecting to win against a team that was a scrappy team that punched them in the mouth. And I think here they got to just come out flying. They got to take that same exact approach they took in New England. Just hit, to quote an American Admiral Bull Halsey, they need to hit fast, hit hard, hit often.
I like that.
It. Yeah. Matt, what are your thoughts there? And I know we got into my keys to success, but what are some of yours?
Yeah, I think V-Man, I think you bring up a really good point. The Jets almost not taking the Broncos seriously enough. And now they put themselves in a spot with this next 3 games. They got Minnesota, then you're back home against Buffalo, and then on the road in Pittsburgh. They're going to be 3 tough games, but almost feels like the Jets need to get back in the win column this week. I know they're slight underdogs in this game, but it's a week-to-week league. The Jets have the talent to come out and win this one, but it's going to be really dependent, I think, on coaching in this game. Hopefully, you get Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall going a little bit too, because they've had a slow start to their season in the first month.
Yeah, absolutely. V-Man, what are your thoughts? Garrett Wilson, he's coming off a game, 40 yards. He's had these tough matchups all 4 weeks of the season. Charvarius Ward, L'Jarius Sneed, Christian Gonzalez, Pat Surtain of the notable names. This week, Vikings don't really have any big names in their secondary. Do you think this is the week where Garrett Wilson can just break through and show why he has the chance to possibly break every single season wide receiver record in New York Jets history?
Yeah, I think this is like the perfect week, Look, as we know, the Vikings are not known for their pass defense. They're not known for their pass defense. So it's all going to be dependent on if they're just on the same page. I mean, the problem is it hasn't been just that that he's been facing good pass defense. It's also just that him and Rodgers have just been off. They haven't quite clicked yet. So the question is this going to be the game that they click? This is the opportune moment for them, obviously, to click, because, like I said, there's nobody here that you're scared of pass defense wise. So, but I'm probably confident that this is going to be that week where they put it together.
V-Man, final score prediction for tomorrow.
Okay, I probably think I'm going to have the Jets winning by 13, 33 to 20.
I love it.
I like it. So you're going to send yeah.
I was going to say, I got, before we let V-Man go, I got one more for him. So you're wearing your Puerto Rico hat. Will you be rooting for Francisco Lindor and the Mets today?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I want you guys to do well because, as you know, I've said this before, my grandmother was a diehard Mets fan. So okay. I'll wish you guys best. And, I wish that she was still alive when you guys got Lindor, but she was not all up here. So she never got to appreciate him because she would have been the biggest Francisco Lindor super fan. Because if you don't know, they're from the same hometown. They're both from Caguas, Puerto Rico. So she would have we all know how it is whenever there's a player on your favorite team that happens to be from your neck of the woods, you just root for them that bit harder. So yes, so I will I will be rooting for you guys for the best of luck in that series, and best of luck in the playoffs, and of course, unless you run into the other New York team in the World Series, that it's all bets are off then.
Let's hope for a Subway Series then.
Yes.
I would love
that. Appreciate you as always, my friend. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Right.
Yeah. See you, man. We appreciate the call, and Matt, that was a great point by you. Kind of, like cat-like tendencies there. Just your reflexes.
I had to bring it up. I'm rocking the Mets polo today, so I wanted to give a shout out. Today is my grandfather's 89th birthday. He's my biggest fan. He watches my videos, always supports my stuff. So I'm going out to lunch later with him, and then we'll be watching the Mets game after that. So wanted to rock my Mets today.
Shout out to Grandpa O'Leary. Everyone, make sure you smash that like button on both channels. Make sure you are subscribed to both channels, at Matt O'Leary, NY, at NY Flight. Jets Talk Super Chats will cut the line. Big Met game tonight, Matt. We know we're both Met fans. It's a little shaky. Before we get back to the callers, I'm gonna throw a Mets question your way here.
All right.
Jose Quintana, obviously Game 3 against the Brewers. That was a huge turning point of the season. Mets season was resting on Jose Quintana's left arm. He's someone, when he's on, he's on. When he's off, he's off. Now we're looking Kodai Senga, Game 1 of the NLDS. He is, very rusty, coming off. He hasn't really played much this season. What do you expect out of him?
I love it. I am a huge Kodai Senga fan. I love his confidence going into this game too. His quote where he's like, "I could throw 10 pitches or 200, whatever they ask me to do." I think they pair him with another starter. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they go to either McGill or Peterson after Senga. I just don't see him going crazy deep into this game, but I love Senga. I've been a big fan of him since he's come over. So rooting for the best today out of him.
Love it. Let's go to another caller, and he's also a Mets fan. The trifecta of Mets fans. Johnny boy's on the line. Johnny, what's going on, my man?
Hey, so I heard all the Mets stuff, and I was like, oh, okay, we're talking Mets right now? Awesome. It made that whole debacle of that game that was play against the Broncos a lot better. Look, Kodai Senga, I'm one of the few that's kind of worried about it. He's been off for so long, right? But he's had some simulation games, I guess. I don't know. It is what it is. Look, I don't even care right now. I'm just so happy on what we're doing. Nobody was thinking that we were going to be in the position that we're at right now. So I say that to say this. The Jets are going to destroy the Vikings. I don't think destroy is the word that I wanted to use, but I'm being super cocky today. It's 21-17. This is the game that we're going to see DJ Reed have some picks. I also think that Sauce is going to have some picks. The defense is fired up because of what happened last week. And Aaron freaking Rodgers is throwing tutties to Tyler Conklin. That's who I think is going to score the 2 touchdowns. And I think Braylon Allen runs one in. And that's their 21 points right there.
I love it. I think DJ Reed has been such an underappreciated Jet this year. He was he might have been their best player against Denver in that game. He was unbelievable last week.
Yeah, or Quincy. Him or Quincy. Both of them had really solid games. Quincy, I think so I know we're talking about Reed, but Quincy, you look at him, his ability, he does everything. He's great in pass coverage and also his speed to just dart across the middle of the field. I saw one of those clips, I think it was Javonte Williams, she stuffed him right at the line. And he was on the complete other side of the field, just using his ability right over on the halfback stretch to get him. But I think both Reed and Quincy Williams are very talented. DJ Reed, Johnny, he's going to have a tougher matchup against Justin Jefferson. You say you expect him to get a couple interceptions. DJ Reed, obviously, he's in the middle of this contractual thing, might not get a second deal. If you're Woody Johnson, you're Joe Douglas, do you have to find a way to get Reed back in the green and white in long term?
I think it's gonna be tough. I love DJ Reed. You got to make some tough decisions now. Like, I wonder with some of these contracts coming up that the Jets have to pay. Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Jermaine Johnson, AVT, on and on and on it goes. Guys that we like, for instance, DJ Reed, who you brought up, or maybe even Tyler Conklin, unfortunately, they might end up being cap casualties. And, if this was a non-salary cap sport, I would say, yeah, of course, bring them back. Why not? They've been effective. But I just think, unfortunately, here they might end up being cap casualties.
And it looks like Johnny has, just abruptly looks like there was some sort of error there. So he left the screen. Nope, he's
Get him
back.
back
He's back. We'll get him back here on the show.
My
Johnny,
bad,
there you
guys.
go. All good, all good. You're back. So you mentioned DJ Reed there. He's gonna have a big game. What's your biggest X factor for tomorrow's contest?
Chuck Clark.
Ooh,
Yeah, it's Chuck Clark has been going up and up and up. If you guys keep seeing it, I think they're gonna use him again, like they used him at the Patriots when he was coming off the
yes.
edge to blitz. The way he was doing that, the way he plays out there, like he's so free. It reminds me a little bit of like what Troy Polamalu used to do, So he's going up. He was one of those players that I was like, man, he's never really had a big injury like that. He's coming off this injury, how he's going to play, and he's doing really well. So I'm intrigued to see how much more he keeps ascending, going up and whatnot. So
Chuck Clark's he's a really interesting one because the Jets got him obviously last season in exchange for a late round pick out of Baltimore. He was a key piece on a contending 2022 Baltimore Ravens defense. Obviously, we didn't see him at all last year because he tore his ACL and OTA. So it's great to see what he's doing. He's doing now, and I think he has the potential to do something really, really special for the Jets moving forward. Johnny, final score prediction for tomorrow.
So I got it 21-17. We kick some ass. I know people are gonna think I'm nuts. Matt, happy birthday to your dad. Connor, brother, have fun out there, dude. It looks magical where you're at right now.
Yes.
Hopefully the Mets get the W for Grandpa O'Leary. You know what I mean? Because he needs it. He deserves it. We got to keep it going. It's still JETS. And Connor, you out there, you better start leading that chant, man. As crazy as you can, bro. So, hey, yo, and shout out to you, Connor, and the fact that low key, bro, you're almost as tall as Matt O'Leary. Just want to put that out there, man. So,
Connor is a tall dude.
Yeah, man. So
I'm 5'7", so I'm Matt probably still has 10 inches, 9 inches on me right now. So yeah.
But Matt's also like 72 now and whatnot. So but
you turn 30 next year, man. That's scary.
Oh wow.
I appreciate you guys, man. You guys keep doing it. JETS, baby. Jess. Let's go.
There we go. Great call by Johnny. I love the enthusiasm there. Jets come out with a win, which is what you want to see. We have one more caller on the line before we get to your questions in the chat. NY Jets Indy is on the line. What's going on, man?
Hey, Matt, Connor, can you hear me?
We got you coming through.
Loud and clear.
Hey, how we doing today?
Doing well.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get a win tomorrow.
Ooh, I like it. So you have the Vikings. You look at them right now; they're 4-0. What they've shown, it's not like they've just had an easy 4-0. They've beaten elite teams, the Texans, the Packers last week, going up 28-0 in the first half. What do you think? What do you see out of the Jets following a really rough 10-9 loss, where there weren't many bright spots that you think, okay, the Jets are able to exploit this weakness against the Vikings, or what do you just see in the Jets that's promising and you think can help them win the game?
Well, one, I think Aaron Rodgers. I think he should be able to, with the Vikings having a really bad back end. I'm not really too worried about them on the back end. I like their front seven, but I think post snap, Rodgers should be able to decipher what they're doing. It's just I hope that Garrett and the others can catch up to him, which I think they will. So I think that we should be able to get some opportunities across the middle of the field with Conklin. Maybe get Brees out of the backfield a little bit. Go to Mike Williams, motion Garrett around. I think that's where we can get most of our success against the Vikings defense.
You mentioned Mike Williams there. We're going to look at the long-term picture, NY Jets Indy. There was a report that came out yesterday. Jonathan Jones, CBS Sports NFL Insider, said if the Jets want to acquire Davante Adams, Mike Williams might have to be dealt away. Would you be fine with that, or do you want to, aim to really keep Williams as well as bringing in Adams in some sort of way?
Yeah, absolutely not. I would. That would be delusional to trade away Mike Williams to get Davante Adams. I mean, you want the most weapons possible. You want Brees, you want Garrett, you want Mike and Adams. Like, if you trade them away, I mean, that's just delusional because Mike's on a 1 year deal, and unless you're trying to sign Adams for 2 3 years, he's probably gonna be a 1 year. So I just don't think that that's a smart move. When you're pushing for a Super Bowl, you want to be all in. So I wouldn't do that.
Matt, what are your
Yeah,
thoughts there?
I was gonna say I agree with that take from NY Jets Indy. Like I don't understand. Like it's bad enough that Garrett Wilson's name gets brought up by and mostly by Raiders fans. Like it's not anyone like serious in consideration. But I
Yes.
don't think
Exactly.
I don't think the Jets are dealing a wide receiver in this. I think they just want to add to what they have. And from the Raiders side too, like they're in a rebuilding year. They want draft capital. So I understand like they want a second round pick. We'll see if it ends up being a second, but I think it's just going to be multiple picks for Devontae. I don't think it's going to be a pick and a player here.
Now, Matt, let me ask you this: what deal? If you're Joe Douglas, what deal would you like? What's the most you'll go without being reckless?
I would do the second round pick. That's not my preference on it, but what I like I'll say if it ends up being a second, luckily for the Jets, since the trade they made at the draft this past year, they do have 2 third-round picks. So what they
Hmm.
can do is package those picks together and either move up in the third round or maybe jump into the back of the second. So um, if it does come to, hey, we got to give up a second rounder to get Devontae, you're hoping that pick is like pick 64 anyway. So I
Yes.
would
Exactly.
still do it.
Yeah, I agree. I would do it. I would prefer, like you said, a conditional or like you said, packaging those up. But I would do it too because I think the value that you're going to get from Devontae over whoever you're going to get in the second round, it's a good deal there. I would do that.
I understand where you guys are coming from, but let's say the Jets, give their standard offer, but let's say it's a second round pick for Adams. The Raiders counter, they say, okay, what about Adams in exchange for a fourth rounder and Malachi Corley? What would you guys say there?
Ooh.
Oh, oh.
Yeah, I don't. I'm finding it hard to give up on a guy 4 games into his career, but I don't think that would be enough to stop me from doing that deal. Like if that's who they
Yeah.
want, if they want Malachi Corley and it bumps it from a second to a fourth, I like Corley, but I think he's a gadget player in the NFL. I don't think he's going to develop into being like a true number one. And that's
Right.
not on Corley. Like if you take someone in the third round and they are a good gadgety number 3 receiver for you, that's a win. But
Yep.
you're getting Devontae, who is a clear number 1 receiver, and pairing him with
Yep.
Garrett Wilson, who would then, by result, be a number 2. And as a number 2, I would think he's one of the best number 2s in the NFL. So I would do it for that duo. I think it's worth it.
Yeah, I agree. It would be hard to do, but I would do it because Corley, that's another player that I think that could be key in this game, but it's just a matter of, is Hackett and Salah going to properly use him because he's gotten what 3 plays in a matter of
One
what's
catch
it
for
been?
4 yards.
Yeah,
Yeah,
one
4
catch for four. Yeah, one catch for 4 yards, and if I remember right, that was on like a 3rd and 17. So
Yeah,
it
it was
was a
against the
screen.
Titans.
Yeah, it was a screen pass. It was a quick screen, and you just punt. So it would be a hard deal, but I would do it because I think just getting Devontae Adams just means so much to this organization right now. Because I think Garrett and the rest of the offense really needs that help. They really need that other person to kind of open up the offense.
I love it.
Yeah, I agree there, Andy. One more thing before you let you go. Final, you said the Jets are gonna win, but what is the final score prediction? Is it a blowout or is it a tight game?
No, it's going to be a tight game. I got the Jets. I'm going to go 24-21.
Cool.
Love it. 24-21. And, spoiler alert here, NY Jets Indy. I had that same exact score prediction. Earlier in the week, I was kind of, really upset, fuming coming off that loss. I said the Jets were going to lose 28-21. I really, weighed my options in now. Rewatched a lot of the Vikings game against the Packers. I mean, the Packers could have easily come back and won that game, and then it's a completely different scenario. Vikings
Hmm.
3-1, Jets 2-2. It just, if let's say they just held them to a field goal at the end of the first half, and it was 24-0. They would have still come out and probably won that game. So it was just that was really tight comeback. I don't like. I think the Vikings have done a really poor job, just not even last week, but over the first 4 weeks of the season of maintaining leads. So I think the Jets are going to be able to exploit that, and I see them coming out 24-21. But NY Jets Indy, appreciate the call. You got any final thoughts?
No, just I can't wait for the game tomorrow. I'm gonna be up probably about 7 o'clock. I'm gonna be ready. And just hope it's better than last week because that game was. I was at the game last week and it was bad conditions. And sadly I think it might be raining in London though. I hear.
It looks that way. The Jets can't play a
Probably, yeah.
football game without rain, it seems like.
It's just another
Right.
excuse for Robert Saleh. I was on after the game with Jake Brown, formerly of the New York Post, on his post-game show, Sick Podcast, Jets Flight Club, and we made a funny joke. He's like, let's say the Jets even got a dome. Robert Saleh's excuse if they lost would be the air conditioning was too low or too high. So the weather's been here. I got here Thursday morning here in London. The weather's been great, so probably due for some rain, but you got to hope the Jets are able to prevail in those tough conditions.
Oh, we will. 24-21 Jets.
Love it. We do appreciate the call, NY Jets Indy. We do have another caller on the line, but before we do so, we have someone. Oh, and wow, here it goes in the chat. Got Dan Mitchell tuning into the show of Roundtable Sports, Bill's content creator. Dan, super great to see you in the chat. Follow his work at Dan Mitchell on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, everything. Roundtable Sports. I actually host the show there on the main Roundtable Sports Network, NFL wide. Matt, I know you do some stuff over on the Jets Roundtable, AFC East Roundtable with Richie, Matt, Ryan, Jake, and the whole crew. Everyone smash that like button. Make sure you are subscribed to the channels at Matt O'Leary NY, at NY Flight Jets Talk. Before we get into your questions, do have another caller on the line. This is someone who hasn't called into my show in a little while, Matt. I don't know about you. I know you do a lot of videos, but here we go. Alan joining the show. Alan, what's going on?
There he is.
Good morning, guys. First of all, I love the chemistry between you guys, and I can't believe you're 13 years old. Holy shit! First of all, off topic, Matt. It might be time to buy out Mr. Engvall. Just off topic. That's just my thought.
He might have a hard time making this roster, dude.
He sucks. Okay, thank you very much. Six more years at $3 million. God bless it. God bless Lou. Now on to the Jets. The Davante Adams situation. I'm going to talk from a Raider perspective, okay? I keep hearing 2/3, a third and a fourth. First ask if I'm the Raiders is Braylon Allen. I know it's going to be rejected, but that's the first ask. Second ask is a second and Malachi Corley. I don't think they get anything. I don't think they'll settle for anything less than that. I really do not. I don't.
Would you accept that? Let's say the Raiders come to Joe Douglas. Would you accept? I mean, Malachi, if you're looking at it right now, it's basically a second-round pick. You look at Corley, he's negligible. 3 snaps in 4 games of the season. Obviously, only 4 games, so there is a chance. I have receipts with Johnny Boy and Boy Green on my weekly show with Boy Green over the summer. I said Corley was not going to have an existent role to start the season. They both argued with me on it. I was on the good end of that side there. So would you accept that right now, Alan?
I'd be very leery about accepting it because to me, I don't think that's their biggest problem, honestly. Their biggest problem was the one they traded for on April 1st that they never brought into the camp, and that's Hassan Reddick. Again,
yes.
six months and 4 days ago, they traded for him, and he's still not here. And there's no excuse for the Jets. People like to bash Hassan Reddick in this situation. I put him aside. This is all on Joe Douglas and the Jets, okay? This team will not get to the quarterback tomorrow, and they'll struggle against big teams getting to the quarterback in a conventional 4-man pass rush. That's why I like the Vikings at 27-17 tomorrow, because again, if you want to get to Darnold, you got to get to him with a conventional pass rush. If you expect to get to him just via the blitz, he's going to carve them up tomorrow. I'm telling you. And tomorrow, after tomorrow's game, you continue the Fire Saleh watch, and it will be over by next Monday night against the Bills when they lose that game as well. Again, as much as people want Davante Adams, and I think he'd be a great add, This team will go nowhere without Hassan Reddick. They don't have enough on the defensive line to get to the quarterback, and they won't. And I'm frustrated because I keep reading, oh, it's time to trade him and disregard him. Look at the guys they have at their defensive end position this year, right now, especially without Jermaine Johnson. You can't win with those guys. You just can't do it.
What I will say, Gary called into my show, Alan, the other night with Michael Nani of Jets X Factor. He actually asked a good question. Who has a better chance of playing for the Jets this season, do you think? Hassan Reddick. I said Devontae Adams. Alan, Alan and Matt, I want to get your thoughts there. I view Reddick right now. I mean, we're a day away from the Jets Week 5 contest, obviously, in London. I think this Reddick thing's a lost cause, and I don't think he's playing for the Jets this season. I think the Jets just need to step forward with this, because I think it's done, and I don't think Hassan Reddick is playing for the Jets at any point this season under any circumstance. Alan and Matt, what are your thoughts? Do you think Reddick will play at any point this season, and who do you think has a better chance of playing for the Jets, Adams or Reddick?
Matt, you could start on this one.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Adams.
Yep.
I do think that deal does get done. I wonder if they get to the point, what is it, after 10 games where if you miss more than that, your season doesn't accrue.
It tolls, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
And then if he doesn't report by week 11, he can't play this. If he reports after week 11, he can't play for any team this season, I believe is what it is.
Yeah, so maybe I'm coping, but maybe he shows up for the last month and helps with the playoff push. But then what kind of shape will he be in at that point? Like, there's so many variables there. I'm just not very confident in the Hassan Reddick situation. It feels like an afterthought, and there's a lot of smoke with this Adams stuff. I think he gets dealt in this next week, and I do think it's with the Jets.
I'm still going to say Reddick, and I'll tell you why.
Wow.
I think they lose tomorrow. And I think this GM will be so desperate, especially if they don't get to the quarterback, that he's going to make that phone call. He's going to have to, because this is his job. This is not just Salah's job. This is his job on the line. He cannot go into that Buffalo game without a legitimate pass rusher out there. And I'm not going to just say Will McDonald, who's a one-trick pony. And he'll get against lesser known teams. Against Buffalo, without Reddick, they're not beating them. They're just not going to. So I still believe it's going to be Reddick, especially if they lose tomorrow. It's just my opinion.
Yeah, Matt, what are your thoughts there? And Matt, what do you think the Jets' record will be over this next stretch of games? Because you have the Vikings, Bills, Steelers. I think you have to be 500 or better by the Texans game on Halloween. I think that's the key.
Yeah, I would like to take the next 2 or 3, but I think that's easier said than done against these opponents. The Jets, they are underdogs in this game. It wouldn't be surprising if they lost. Unfortunately, I've been saying this all week, and it's a really tough thing about this team and a tough way to watch football. I feel like they have the talent where they could compete against any team in the league, but they have the coaching where they could lose against any team in the league as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if they won tomorrow, and I wouldn't be surprised if they lost. But again, I would like to be 4-3 going into that game against the Patriots after this stretch. So however you get to it, whether it's you lose this week, win the next 2, or you win this one and find another one between the Steelers and the Bills there, it's easier said than done. But I would be pretty disappointed if through 7 games they're under 500.
Let me ask you a question. If they're 2-4, if they lose next Monday night and they're 2-4, do you actually think about firing the coach?
Matt, take it away.
Yeah, I would absolutely, but I don't think the Jets would do it. I don't think they're going to make an in-season move. I would be okay with if they pulled the plug. I wouldn't lose sleep over Robert Saleh getting fired. 6 games into the season if they're 2-4. I just would be surprised if Woody Johnson did that, because he hasn't shown to do it yet.
I think it's a desperate move this coming week, coming off a loss to the Vikings. I think Joe Douglas makes that phone call. And again, if this was done, this could have been done 6 months ago for a contract very similar to what Danielle Hunter got at 2 years, $49 million, $48 million guaranteed. Now, if you call Hassan Reddick coming off a 2-game losing streak, 2 games where they're going to struggle to get to the quarterback, that number will be up to $30 million a year. And I'm telling you one thing, they will be desperate. They are going to be very desperate this week. I love Devontae Adams. I think he'll help this team. He's not the bigger need.
Yeah, you made it pretty clear there. I don't know about $30 million a year, but I think his price will go up. Also, he's looking for a multi-year deal, so who knows if he even want to settle on a 2-year deal? Maybe he's looking for even 3 and 4. And we're talking about Hassan Reddick. Yes, he's had over 11 sacks the past four seasons. 16 in 2022, fourth place in Defensive Player of the Year voting. He's a very talented player, but you have to keep in mind he just turned 30 years old, and the last 5 games, 4 or 5 games it was last season, he did not record a sack. So that's already becomes a turnoff for some teams in the league. So it's definitely a situation to monitor, and I think things can escalate quickly. I will say in regards to Salah, Connor Hughes after the Jets Week 1 loss said he's talked to sources, and Woody Johnson has made it clear that he doesn't believe in season coaching changes. And Connor Hughes said under any circumstance he thinks Robert Salah will play out the rest of the season. Alan, I see you shaking your head there. I know you're not the biggest Salah fan. You probably think otherwise, but we do appreciate the call. You got any final thoughts?
One final thought, and I'm gonna counter what you said before, Connor. If they weren't going to sign Reddick at the time, why make the deal if there was no backup plan in mind?
Exactly.
That's where I don't understand that. That's where I don't understand the Jets' stance here. Again, they let Huff go. He hasn't produced in Philly, but you know what? He still had 10.5 sacks here last year. They did not have a third option on this roster, and they needed a third option. So the idea that you're going to make the trade for Reddick and basically not sign him and think that this product right now is going to get it done, it's laughable. And to me, this is all on the Jets. This is not on Reddick. I commend Reddick for this stance. He's giving up $9 million. That's crazy. But you know what? That's his stance. He believes he should be a top 5 player, paid player. And again, this is all on Joe Douglas. This is all on the Jets. You play with fire, you're going to lose week after week.
Wow, it's tough to argue there, Alan. We do appreciate the call. I think the biggest thing, Nat, I'll let you go here too, but I think the biggest thing, it's a completely different scenario right now in terms of Salah's, where he sits in his job. If it was an absolute shootout against the Broncos, Jets lose 35, 28, whatever it is, and both teams just play their hearts out. It's such a great game. I think one of the biggest things that aggravated us is Jets came in unprepared, undisciplined, 15 penalties, 13 accepted, 490 yards, the pre-snap penalties on Rodgers' cadence, just everything. They came in so unprepared, and we've seen it so many games in a row now, time in and time out. Where do you sit? You seem kind of, split right now in between. You like Salah, you don't like him. What do you think needs to happen? And let's say, even if the Jets win a playoff game or two, could you see something where maybe, okay, they still win a playoff game or two, Salah's not back, and also, what do you think the floor and ceiling is for this team right now after they're 2-2 entering a really rough stretch of games?
I think their floor is depending on if they get more repeat performances like they did against Denver, I think they could be like a 8 or a 9 win team. I still think their ceiling is maybe 11 or 12. Like, I'm not going to change it that much from where I was before the season. I believe I said their floor was 9 and their ceiling was 12, and then I picked them at 11, like somewhere in the middle. I think there's a path where they could still end up finishing 11-6. It's just gonna, I mean, I said it with Alan on the line, but unfortunately with the coaching staff, I think I wouldn't be surprised if they lost to any of these teams, because we've seen them time in and time out come in unprepared. The penalties are still a problem, but again, you have a defense and you have Aaron Rodgers where at any point they could go off and win a game. So I think it splits the difference. I think sometimes they're going to look really good. Other weeks they're going to come out flat. It's going to be a frustrating, bumpy ride, but I still think they're winning 10 or 11 games this year.
Yeah, right now I sit in my ceilings probably 11 games. My floor is 7. That's where I sit right now. It's a completely different scenario, though, Matt. If the Jets just win last week, even if it's not in a pretty fashion, they sneak out whatever it is, 13-10, 12-10. If they just hit that game-winning field goal, break the leg at the end of the game, it's a completely different scenario. Jets are 3-1 right now. They have room for error. Now they don't with this really, really rough stretch of games coming up. So I think that loss was a big turning point in the season. But everyone, make sure you are subscribed to both channels and you smash that like button at Matt O'Leary NY, at NY Flight Jets Talk. Matt, ready to keep it going with the calls?
Yeah, we got there's a Jets legend behind behind the call. I think we got to bring him up next. Let's go to Jake Asman from London.
There we go.
Yeah, we're here, baby. I'm with two esteemed British legends here. We got the two Sams.
There we go.
So things are happening. We're on our way to the Jet Fest at Ellie's Yard or Eli's Yard.
Truman Brewery.
Yep.
Jets. Jets.
Yes,
There we
they're
go.
ready.
Are we optimistic in London? Like, what's the vibe for you, Jake, going into this one?
I went from Monday not wanting to get on the flight to come here to now. Not only are the Jets going to win tomorrow, but they're going to win by double digits.
I love it.
Love it.
That's the life cycle of the Jets, man. We know it.
Exactly.
By Thursday, I was like, they're going to win. And now I'm like, of course they're going to win. And then I've been, the Vikings fans, they've been very nice. But a couple of them were like, wow, you ready to go back to New York 2-3? I'm like, are you ready for your quarterback to see ghosts again?
I think the key for the Jets though is to make Sam Darnold look like what he looked like in his time with the Jets. I think that's the key with what the defensive line needs to do. Jake, what's your key to success for tomorrow's game?
Connor, they have to score more points than the other team, and if they do that, they win the game.
Yep, there we go. Final score prediction.
Jets 24, Vikings. I think I'm trying to remember what I said on the show. I think I either said 24-20 or 24-17. I forget what I said, or 23-17, something in that range. I think the Jets last week was a bit of an outlier. I think they get the offense going a lot more this week, and I mean the defense has to show up. And if they protect Aaron and Sam turns it over a couple times, I think there's a path for them to win.
I do
Jake,
too.
appreciate
you just missed your friend Allen by like 2 calls.
Yep.
Man, I'm so sad. I don't know if I can have a good time on my trip now.
Sorry to hear that. I hope they get a win for both you guys. They both made the trip overseas, but I could not imagine making a 6-7 hour flight to get over there.
It was about 7.5. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Jake and I were on the same flight, Matt.
There you go. It was the Jets flying out of JFK this year.
Yep. Exactly.
Connor, are you coming to the Jake Asman Hippodrome party tonight, or do you have a fake ID that says you're 18?
Unfortunately, I left it at home, so my fake ID is left on Long Island. Matt, maybe you're on Long Island. Maybe you can, I'll shoot you my address. Maybe you could go pick it up and fly to London for tomorrow's
I'll climb
game.
for you. I'll break in through a window and express ship it out there so you can get there tonight.
Jake, appreciate the call. Have a great rest of your trip.
Connor, great show. Matt O'Leary, you're a legend. Good luck to your Mets, and let's go Yankees.
There we go. Oh God, appreciate it, Jake. Matt, it's Mets. Another game, so it's huge weekend for us. The Mets and Jets fans. I said it last week. If the Jets just won, stuck past the Broncos, I would have felt so great because the Mets clinched the playoff spot the next day, and they ended up, making it out of the wild card round alive. Let
me tell you the headspace I was in after Edwin Diaz blew the lead and after being in MetLife Stadium. I was like, I was in the sports are stupid. Why do I do this to myself? I don't know why. I was really close to just being like, I'm going to disappear. I'm going to become a ranch hand in Montana and never watch sports again. You guys will never, ever see me again. And then Francisco Lindor did Francisco Lindor things, and we're back. I'm back in the mix. I'm still doing videos. I haven't left yet, but yeah, it was ugly there for a little bit, as I'm sure you can imagine. Matt, it's called being a New York sports fan. I mean, that's why I can never do like a live watch party on YouTube or in person, whatever, for a Jets game. Because the way I watch the games, I go from, just
going crazy. I hate this team. This team sucks. They're a 4-win team, and then 2 minutes later, the Jets get an interception or someone. I'm like, yeah, let's go. I love this team. They're gonna win the Super Bowl. So it's a roller coaster of emotions, and that's why like another call, Gary earlier this week on my show said, patience is the only thing you cannot find in New York City. So
It's
he's
true.
right there, and hopefully the New York Jets can turn it around before two more callers on the line again before we get into your questions. We got our guy Gator joining the show. Gator, what's going on?
What do you say, guys? How are you?
What's going on, Gator? How are you?
I'm good. I was enjoying your show while I was doing some house work here, and I had to stop because I want to talk about Allen. This guy, he's the absolute worst level of Jets fan on the planet. And I mean, he calls himself a Jets fan, but I'm not convinced that he's a Jets fan. And Connor, you may want to cover your ears for some of this.
Okay.
He really is a shitheel. I cannot deal with these Jet fans that are nothing but negative and can never be constructive. And look, I've been a solid supporter, and I'm certainly seeing things that I don't like in him. I think the major problem with Saleh is he's the worst New York type, head coach, because he can't talk to the media without screwing something up. And I think that's his biggest issue right now, is he doesn't know what to say. And Rodgers is always the adult in the room. And you listen to Rodgers talk, and he clears up things. He fixes mistakes. He basically, I can't say it enough, he's the adult in the room. And when he does his press conferences and he answers the questions, he's calm, cool, collected, and he never flubs. He never makes a mistake. And if Saleh coaches the way he speaks to the New York media, then yeah, he's definitely got issues. But that being said, you look at last week's game, we gave up 10 points. The Jets got to win when we give up 10 points. And that's the fact of the matter is that Rodgers' record, as you know, you score less than 20 points, the opponent scores less than 20 points, chances are he's going to win the game. And that's just not happening. So I would like to see at some point we move on from Saleh if he can't deal with the media, if he can't get his shit together. The guy I actually like, who I've been watching a lot, I don't know if you guys have caught any of John Gruden's YouTube channel.
Oh, I've said that, Gator, for so long. It is the Gruden Loves Football podcast. Boy Green and him have been like best friends on Twitter for the past week or so. I was a fan of John Gruden bringing him potentially even this offseason to be, someone senior maybe on the offensive coaching staff, because we saw how much of a debacle it was with Nathaniel Hackett, Todd Downing, and company. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of Gruden. Matt, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, that's definitely not a bad thought. He's had success in this league before. We know he's an offensive guy, loves the game. The veteran head coach that I like right now, or that I've been talking about as my favorite, if they were to make a switch, whether it be this year or next year, is Mike Vrabel. I just think that his teams always, when there wasn't the talent level there, they never just completely fell off a cliff. And I think, playing with Rodgers or coaching with Rodgers, that'd be the best quarterback he's ever worked with. I think he got a ton out of that roster and that offense. And I think him having the year off this year, I know he's technically an assistant or advisor in Cleveland, but I've always liked him. I think he's been one of the better coaches in the league. I thought it was a mistake when the Titans moved on from him, and that's a name that I would be looking for maybe next year if the Jets are making a move.
But can he handle the New York media? I mean, I don't know him well enough to say. And that's the thing I see in Gruden, as I see him as somebody that's seasoned, and because this is a big thing. I mean, New York is unlike most cities. There's not a whole lot of cities where you're going to get beat up and you're going to get dragged under the mud for anything and everything you say. And you're seeing it with Saleh, and I feel for him because he just doesn't have that personality to deal with it. And I think it's probably going to cause issues moving forward, and eventually maybe he becomes a fantastic head coach in some other city. But maybe here is just not going to be great for him because he constantly steps on his, I'm not going to say that word, but he steps on his foot. And I'm just kind of done with it. But again, just going back to Allen for a second. Allen, constructive, positive. That's what we need. Be constructive, be positive. And this goes for all Jets fans. Nobody wants to hear your constant negativity. Oh, we're going to lose today, and we're going to lose tomorrow, and we're going to lose next week, and then they're going to do this, and no one wants to hear you, okay? We're here to support the Jets. We're here to be fans. We're not here to listen to all of that negative shit. Go away, okay? Go away. Thanks, guys.
Gator,
Go Jets.
wow.
Appreciate you, Gator.
The strong words there, and I like the John Gruden suggestion, and I do like the Vrabel one there as well, because Vrabel is someone. He reminds me, not obviously hasn't had as much success as someone like Mike Tomlin, but what I like about Vrabel is the teams that he's led to victory haven't had a ton of talent. I mean, it's Ryan Tannehill. Derrick Henry was an exceptionally talented player at the time, but it's not like they had so much talent. They were just such a well-coached football team that led them to have that much success. And if the Jets had Mike Vrabel right now, I think that they would be 3-1 just because the errors, and who knows what last season could have been if they they had Mike Vrabel and just a better backup quarterback. I just still don't see any way where the Jets pull the plug on Salah. But Matt, could you see something maybe? Offense continues to struggle like last week. They score 9 points where maybe Hackett's gone midway through the season, or do you think he's kind of locked in with Rodgers?
I think he's locked in with Rodgers, but maybe they have Downing call plays at some point if it gets bad enough. I don't love, like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like Todd Downing's this awesome adjustment to make here, but if it really gets to that point, I don't think they'd pull the plug and fire him in season, but maybe they'd, kind of have somebody else call the plays with, and the only other option really is Todd Downing, I think.
Yeah, Todd Downing is the only other option. You really look, he's basically kind of taken over in that quarterback coach, pass game coordinator role. We saw him; he was the offensive coordinator under Mike Vrabel for a little bit. Then we saw him get into that. He picked up some criminal charges there. He was let go. Jets bring him in, but everyone, like I said, make sure you smash that like button on both channels. Make sure you are subscribed at Matt O'Leary NY, at NY Flight Jets Talk. Keep it going with your calls. We have Scott joining the show. Scott, what's going on?
What's up, guys? How are you guys doing?
Good, Scott.
Doing well.
Oh, man. Since we're talking about this Salah firing, I guess I'll start there. Some people are, like, way too quick to be, like, fire Salah. I don't know about everybody else, but I'm scared as hell if we do end up firing Salah midseason. That leads to Hackett being our interim head coach, and I think that is a total downgrade, personally. You talk about sloppiness and everything. I mean, I watched in Denver where he made countless mistakes. He was calling timeouts when he didn't have to, kicking field goals when they, like at inopportune times when it's clearly 4th and goal situations. Like that seems like an even worse downgrade to me. So I don't know. I'm very scared to just be quick to get rid of Salah.
I'm not disagreeing with anything you just said. If they pivoted to Hackett, that would be awful. Would you feel any better if it was either Ulbrich, the defensive coordinator, or maybe oh my god, the tight end coach? I'm blanking on his name.
Ron Middleton.
Yeah, Ron Middleton. He was the interim when Salah had COVID that first year.
Ulbrich, maybe. To me, it might be a lateral move going to Ulbrich because they are tied to the hip and they are kind of like, you're talking about two guys that have been probably given the same messaging. This is Salah's defense. I mean, in Ulbricht's opening presser, that's what he said. I am running a Robert Saleh defense. You know what I mean? And sure, he's had this is 4th year now to kind of develop and kind of sure he's going to have his own style and stuff. But to me, it might be a lateral move. And then Ron Middleton, I'm not sold on. I mean, yeah, he beat a Trevor Lawrence Jaguars team.
He almost got fired this offseason. Like there were talks of him actually getting fired this offseason.
He's got a cool speech, right, where he's, everyone wants to go to heaven. And like, so I like Middleton, but I don't know about head coach. Okay. I just, I want to talk about this Minnesota game though, because I think that's what's most important right now. It's a week by week league. I don't have a great feeling going into it. I know London games are weird. Favorites in going to London are 34-10 historically. So the numbers statistically are favoring Minnesota big time. Now, what is interesting though, I think as a Jets fan, you got to find your hope. You got to find stuff that, can lead us to victory. I do think last week was an outlier in offensive line performance as far as like pass protection. We saw the first 3 weeks, our guys were amazing in pass pro. last week. I don't know about you guys, but from the jump, very first series, right, I always like to start the game watching the O-line to see what kind of push they get. And from the jump, you could see we weren't really getting any push in the run game. Everyone looked at Garrett fumbling on the first drive. I think it gave me very like San Francisco vibes, when Brees fumbled in the beginning. It just had bad omens from the jump. I think this week we bounce back. And I think a big part of that is Darnold's going to turn the ball over. He's been very lucky with turnover-worthy plays this year. I think he's had 5 dropped interceptions so far in the season. So, if people are praising how good he's playing great. But I think there's a lot of volatility there. And I think against this secondary, I think we're going to capitalize, and we're not going to drop those picks.
That's a great call out. Sorry, I was just going to say that's a great call out because as Sam Darnold has played well, like I don't want to take anything away from him. The turnovers have always been a part of his game. He has 3 picks. He's fumbled the ball 4 times. There's an opportunity for the Jets to turn him over, maybe even more than once in this game. And I think that would be, if the Jets are to steal this on the road, I think they got to turn him over at least once or twice and get an extra possession. But with how he's played, it's possible.
100%.
Now, Matt,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so Matt and Scott, I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on this because he leads the league in touchdown passes right now with 11. I mentioned the blitz stats, Scott. I don't know if you were in the show earlier, but when we were first previewing the game, his numbers against the blitz are great. 18 of 20, 334 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Matt, I'll let you go first here on this one. How do you stop Darnold? Do you trust the secondary, like I said, I think they need to do, or do you just blitz and hope that he gets flustered by the pressure?
For me, I think like we talked a lot in the offseason about Sauce shadowing this year, and that was a big story. If there was ever a game for him to do that, with how good DJ Reed's been this year, I don't want to take anything away from him, but even still, I think this is one where Sauce has to follow Justin Jefferson wherever he goes, and the run defense has to be better this week. I don't know if that's run blitzing or the linebackers, or I guess more so the safeties coming down and making plays. Like Chuck Clark, I think would have to have a good game in the run in order for them to have success. But I think you change it up. I think obviously getting home with 4 is ideal because you don't have to blitz. But if that's not working, then I think they have to pivot. They didn't do that against Denver. They were very stubborn about not blitzing. So I think this is absolutely something that they would have to do. Ooh, what do we got here?
Yes, Scott, take it away, and then I'll mention this tweet after.
Okay, so defensively, this is something that does frustrate me with Saleh is, they believe in their system. They believe in, you got left side, you got right side. Minnesota has one of the best offensive lines in the league. Christian Darrisaw is an all-pro left tackle. Brian O'Neill on the other side has given up a minimal pressures as of right now. So with our front 4 at how it stands, I don't see us being able to get home very often unless Quinnen is just having a game record day. But from what I've seen for the last 2 seasons, everyone's just double teaming him, and he hasn't really been a game record since maybe like Green Bay. He's playing very well, but he hasn't made the eye-popping impact that we've seen to maybe take over. I would, if it was up to me, I would personally go sell out on the run, and I would probably do the Belichick. I would match Sauce onto Addison and then double cover JJ everywhere else. And so I think Sauce would completely eliminate Addison, and who's a great weapon in his own right. And then if you double cover JJ, you're going to just take what you can there and then just sell out on the run personally.
Yep. Matt, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I like it. That's bold. I know I just said the kind of the opposite with having Sauce travel, but there's more than one way to skin a cat here. So if the Jets do take that approach, I can see that being successful. And we talked a lot on this stream already about how well DJ Reed's played. You have a number 2 corner who on most teams probably would be a number 1, and maybe you give him some safety help over the top, but then you're using Sauce Gardner to take away their secondary weapon as well. I could be sold on that. I think it's a good plan.
Scott,
appreciate you guys.
The call. You got
JETS.
Final score prediction.
Let's go 28-21. JETS. Jets.
Love it.
Love
Thank
it,
you, Scott.
See you guys.
Appreciate the call. enjoy the game. I'm assuming you're out on the East Coast, so enjoy the game early morning, 9:30 a.m. for everyone out on the East Coast. Matt, what is it? 12:30 out for you, and on Long Island, it's 5:30 for us here in London. So I'm assuming 12:30,
Yeah, 12:30
11:30
right now. 12:30 right now, exactly. So 9:30 tomorrow will be the game. We're doing breakfast, a breakfast buffet. So I'll be on the Blackstone out back. I'll be making my eggs and bacon out on the Blackstone. Maybe having a
Wow.
mimosa or two during the game.
Love it. So I'm gonna to kind of touch on what Scott mentioned there with the coaching changes. You mentioned Ron Middleton there. Obviously, he mentioned Jeff Ulbrich. The thing that I like about both those guys, Middleton and Ulbrich, they just seem like leaders of men. They seem like they are gonna discipline a team. If a team, for example, if the Jets had 13 penalties for 90 yards last, I think Ron Middleton and Jeff Ulbrich would treat the team in maybe a bit of a different manner than Robert Saleh did. Let's say the Jets were to promote Ulbrich. Would you, if you had to pick between the two, Middleton or Ulbrich, who would you pick?
I think I would take Ulbrich because I do think he's due for a head coaching gig, and maybe it's not in
Oh
this
yes.
next cycle. But I do think he is someone who is eventually going to become a head coach. This isn't anything against Ron Middleton. It just feels like he's a couple steps away right now. Now, maybe that's contradictory because he was technically the interim head coach in that game in 2021, but it feels like he probably has to go from a positional coach to a coordinator and then a head coach, where you already have Ulbrich, who's done a good job as a coordinator. He coached at the Senior Bowl this year. So I think my choice would be Ulbrich in this spot.
Yeah, I'd probably have to go with Ulbrich too, just because tight end position. Ron Middleton doesn't have any experience as a coordinator, and that what I think the most realistic scenario is. I said here's what I'll say. I said it after last week's game on my post-game show over on the Jets X Factor YouTube channel. I said after the game, there is no reason that Robert Saleh should be here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. And I'm correct. I still stand by that. However, the Jets are not going to make a move. If they were to make a move, I agree with you. It's going to be the most realistic. It is probably Ulbrich to head coach, White Cotton to defensive coordinator. I think that's what it looks like if you're going to talk realistically and the Jets were to make a move. However, I don't really see anything happening, especially if the Jets are able to hold their own and they're at 500 or better entering the Halloween game, Thursday Night Football against the Texans. And that's tough because the Texans, I view them as a 13 or 14 win team. I think they have a ton of offensive firepower. CJ Stroud, Joe Mixon, Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs, Dalton Schultz are among the notable names. So they're a talented team, and that's why I said, Matt, if they were just 3-1 heading into this London trip, we'd be sitting here and talking completely different about this team.
Yeah, 1,000%. I think even if it was ugly, right? If Greg hits that field goal, which I'm not blaming him, by the way, the Jets
Oh
played
yes, same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Jets played conservatively and settled for a 50-yard field goal in the rain. Like that's again, we talked a bunch on this stream about coaching decisions and how poor they were in that game, and that was just the cherry on top for me. But if they squeak that win like they did against the Giants, where they won 13-10,
Yep.
you feel a little bit different. We're still talking concern level, but you're 3-1, and then if you lose to the Vikings this week and you're 3-2 before coming home, like no matter what happens in the game against or the Buffalo this week, the game's for the division, and that could still be the case if the Jets win this week. But you just put yourself in such a tough spot losing a winnable game at home when you look at the next three against Minnesota, Buffalo, and then, of course, the Pittsburgh Steelers on the road. Those are three very, very difficult games. I've maintained I think the Jets need to take 2 out of their next 3 to stay above 500 and to stay on track in the AFC. It's going to be tough, but I think that's my expectation, and that's what I want to see. If they lose 2 or 3, or God forbid, lose all 3, this might get ugly.
Everyone smash that like button. Make sure you are subscribed to both channels at Matt O'Leary NY, at NY Flight Jets Talk. Let's get into some of your questions. Billy SBC, Braylon Allen is going to be our version of Jerome Bettis. Jets will use him as battering ram, just like, quote, the bus was for the Steelers. Fantastic pick by JD. Matt, what do you got?
Yeah, on that one, I think Braylon Allen is a good pick, and I love the compliment that he gives Breece Hall. And honestly, he's looked like the better running back at this point of the two. I don't think it stays that way the entire year. I think Brees Hall, I tweeted this morning. Like I'm getting a little frustrated. I think we've gone too far the other way on the criticism of Brees Hall and Garrett Wilson. I think they're too talented to not figure it out at some point. But again, still, moral of the story, right now, Braylon Allen's been better. I would lean on him, and especially on the goal line, get him in the end zone, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was, you mentioned getting Braylon Allen in the end zone, and you mentioned him being a great compliment to Brees Hall. I completely agree because Braylon Allen, he brings that power. Meanwhile, Brees Hall brings the elusiveness, and I don't think the Jets used Braylon enough during week 4, and that's one of my keys to victory is utilizing both those players effectively. Matt, how do the Jets do that against the Vikings team that blitzes a lot? And they blitz the second most in the league. Meanwhile, the Broncos blitz the first most. Jets were able to get nothing going on the ground. How are they able to just kind of exploit the weaknesses in the blitz?
Yeah, I think the short to intermediate passing game is going to be really big in this one. Like against New England, I thought Rodgers did a really good job of getting the ball out quickly and into his playmaker's hands early on in that game, especially like first drive. I know they didn't get any points, but they were moving the ball pretty quickly. They played with some tempo. I think they need to do that this week. That's the game plan that I would have. I think if they're going to come out and do the patented, run, pass on third down, it's not going to work against this defense. They're too talented. Their run defense, the Vikings run defense is very good. They've allowed the most passing yards in the league. Now, some of that is because of circumstance. They're up in these games and teams have to throw back into it. But I do think the Jets in this game would be better off coming out with a passing script to set up the run than the other way around.
Billy SBC again, the worst thing you can do is tell the New York Jets they have no damn chance to win the game. They're going to turn Sam Darnold back into Sam Darnold here. Matt, what do you got?
I hope so. I really hope they do. And Sam Darnold, while his numbers against the blitz have been good, his numbers against pressure is where I think that begins to take the turn. That's where the turnovers have become. And, the frustrating thing with Sam Darnold when he was here with the Jets, he would have some really wow throws and some really nice plays. And obviously, like we look at the last two quarterbacks, Darnold and Wilson, neither one of them end up working out here. And clearly Darnold was the better of the two during his time here. But there were still those moments where you're like, I can't believe he just made that throw, or I can't believe he fumbled the ball. And he's going to give defenses an opportunity for at least one or two takeaways. It's just a matter of if you can capitalize on that. And the Jets need to do that. We can't have a dropped interception this week. You can't have, a strip sack and not fall on it. You got to take advantage of these opportunities because he'll give you one or two a game.
Big Will says, Connor, has the time difference been hard? Also, have you seen where the game will be played? If so, what do you think of the place? Big Will, the first day was tough. I had to rest a lot. We are 5 hours ahead here in London. But after that, I've really had no trouble. I have stayed up on the later side here. Probably, I think last night, I stayed up about 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Obviously, the night before that was the huge Met game, so that was a whole nother scenario. But now, in terms of where I've seen the game will be played, no, I know it will be at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which I've heard and read is a great stadium for fans, brand new. What I've been hearing though, since it's a soccer field, we saw it in Brazil, earlier in the season. I do think the surface, it's going to be interesting. I expect some players maybe not get a great grip on the ground. I think that's something to watch. Other than that, I don't have too much insight there. Like I said, all I do know is it is a soccer field and the surface. Let's see. We got Mason. I see this being a Justin Jefferson game. It seems like it would be a down game for him, but QBs lean to their top dogs against top defenses, so I can easily see 15 targets to Jefferson. Matt, what do you got?
I mean, he's someone who gets a ton of targets every single week. While you were talking, I wanted to pull it up. He's actually been on the lower side of targets. Over the last 4 weeks or first 4 games of the year, 8, 7, and 6, but he catches pretty much everything thrown his way. Last week went for 6 for 85 and a touchdown. He has a touchdown in every one of these games that he's played. My bet, I think he gets in the end zone. I think Justin Jefferson gets a touchdown this week. If they keep him to 70 yards or less, I would consider that a success here.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, DJ Reed, Sauce Gardner, we saw those two on Jefferson just a couple of years ago. And the last time the Jets played the Vikings, it was a really close game. That Braxton Berrios drop in the end zone was really the
Brutal.
deciding factor. That was when we were in the slew where Zach Wilson was benched. He was the third string quarterback, and Mike. But I remember watching your pregame show that morning, Matt. That was before you actually knew who I was. I've been watching your channel since 2021, so I do remember watching that pregame show for you against the Vikings just a few years ago, and that's kind of where the Jets crumbled for the remainder of that 2022 season, because they were at that peak, and then after that Vikings game, they just slowly started to just fall apart, and they obviously 7-10, and Jets won 7-10 again last year for the second year in a row. Jets really trying to now get in the playoffs for the first time. They don't make it. Now this is the 14th season now. If the Jets don't make the playoffs, but let's keep it going. Mercy fate. NYJ blows out the Vikings this week. Their secondary has potential to be blown up by a pissed off Rodgers. The media will blame London on Vikings being exposed. Matt, we've seen Rodgers whenever he's had the terrible games, kind of gotten exploited by Twitter, the media. He always seems to go out, have a bounce back performance. What do you see his final line looking like?
Yeah, I think I mean, I mentioned it. I think this is more of a throwing game than a running game. So I do think he gets up around 260 yards, somewhere in that range. It'd be nice to see him get over 300. He hasn't done that since coming to the Jets yet. I believe 2021 was the last time we saw him do that. So I would love to see it. I'm going to say 265 and 2 touchdowns on 38 attempts.
I like it. So, okay, so what did he have? He had 225, I'd say. Yeah, 225 it was last game. No touchdowns, no interceptions. I do think he will have a better performance. You just got to hope so. He's able to find his receivers. I expect Mike Williams to have even a bigger role this week. Some 4 catches, 67 yards last week. I expect even more out of him this week. Let's see. We got Mo Dean. Jets will only pass well against the Vikings. The Vikings are up by a ton. A lot of the passing yards the Vikings have allowed there have been with the team being up by 20 plus points.
I get what Mo is saying here. Part of that is because they are up in these games, but I would still take the Jets' chances throwing the ball rather than going up against this run defense. Their run defense has been absolutely insane. They do get a lot of pressure. They blitz a lot. So you just gotta, for Rodgers, it's almost like, he's the vet. He's going to the Hall of Fame one day. It's kind of like when you blitz Tom Brady. You better get home, because if you don't, he'll be able to pick you apart. So that's what I'm hoping for this week.
Absolutely. And Jesus. So you think a lot of the passing yards the Vikings have allowed with the team up by 20 plus points. Yeah. And I agree with what you said there, Matt, about Rodgers having an improved game, and I think he needs to. I think the offense needs to turn it around. They need to score big, in my opinion. If you really want to have a big game and set a tone and beat the 4-0 Minnesota Vikings and not let them go 5-0 for the first time since 2015. Another question about the passing game. Gator says Rodgers going to thrive against that Vikings secondary. Sauce and Reed are the keys to this game. They keep JJ/Addison limited as they are supposed to. We win this game 27-13. Allen is a fraud.
I like that. I'll take 27-13. I had it in my prediction video. I went 23-20 overtime win. I think it's going to be close. I think it's a field goal game either way, and Greg gets the redemption. That's my prediction for this week.
Ooh, I like it. Okay, so you said 27-13, and then Matt, you said Greg gets the redemption. I mean, that was a tough game for Greg to he got the Jets only 9 points. So you can't say he lost us the game. No one can, rightfully so, because he's the only reason the Jets even scored a point. But the field goals that went in barely snuck in anyways. And then when he was lining up for the 50-yarder, I had a feeling I was not expecting him to make the kick, Matt. I don't know what you were thinking. I know you said you can't blame him for the kick, but were you expecting him to hit that kick?
I was hoping he would make it. It wasn't expectation because I knew it was 50 yards. I knew it was rainy. Every one of his kicks, it felt like barely squeaked through. So it was tough. It was really tough conditions. By no means a gimme.
Absolutely. Let's do 2 more calls here before we wrap. We got Phenom joining the show. Phenom, what's going on?
What's up, guys? I was at the Minnesota game a couple years ago, so I saw that debacle.
Firsthand.
And that being said, Jets came up short, and that was a little disturbing last week. The running game not showing up, that was definitely disappointing. But once again, just when you think you haven't figured out the NFL, you don't, because that's why we watch. So Jets definitely need to run the ball this week to get a win. Aaron Rodgers should be rather pissed. And I'm expecting a better offensive and defense. I mean, it's, we just came up short. Despite everything that happened, it was an ugly game and all like that. But we'll see what's going to happen. So, like I said, I was at that Minnesota game. They lost 27-22. We had a chance to win that game back then. I think we're going to have a chance to win this game as well. So, just hoping for a better performance, because if somebody told us, and you guys have heard it, if somebody would have told us we would have been 2-2 after 4 games, we would have said, okay, that's okay. So that being said, we blew one last week. Hopefully the pendulum will go back in our favor and we'll get a win. It's hard to be positive. It's hard to be positive right now, but we knew this team was going to hit adversity at some point. It hit adversity, and now, again, we will see what kind of team this is. So I'm thinking they're going to bounce back. I think it's going to be a close game. I think we have to control Justin Jefferson. Yeah, Justin Jefferson. He's not John Jefferson. He's Justin Jefferson. Both pretty good receivers. So we'll see. Great work, Connor. I'm glad you made the trip. Hopefully your outing in London will be better. Was better than my Minnesota trip, even though Minnesota was a great trip. Matt, nice meeting you a couple weeks ago. I don't know if we'll ever do that again before a big Jet game. I think we're gonna have to burn that up and not. What? No, not that's not the reason why the Jets lost. But it was great meeting all the guys. You're next, Connor. You're next.
Yeah.
In a couple years. In the next couple of years, we'll be having a beer when you get out of high school and all that. So looking forward to that. You guys do a great show. And despite Alan has his opinions like an asshole. Everybody's got one, and they all stink. So. I'm not calling Alan an asshole. He just has his own opinion.
I appreciate you, Phenom. Good stuff as always.
Phenom,
absolutely, guys. Take care.
Have a obviously enjoy the game early morning for you. Back on the East Coast, I have about 12 minutes left here before I got to go. So let's wrap up. Final caller here on the show, Doug in his room.
You guys thought I was going to miss it, didn't you? You guys thought, oh my God, where's Doug?
The buzzer, no less. Look at this.
Yeah.
I did not know you guys were live. I went on YouTube. I was like, oh my God, I can't miss a live stream.
Yes.
Sacrilegious. And I was worried because if you did it tomorrow morning, I was 100% going to miss it because I work late tonight and I'm waking up at like 9 o'clock. So I was 100% going to miss the stream if you did it tomorrow morning.
That's why we moved the show, Doug.
So yeah, I don't think we're getting too many 7 a.m. views.
I definitely would not have made it. I would have been soundly asleep.
Well, I was on with Jake Asman at 10 a.m. London time, 5 a.m. Eastern the other day. We got a handful of callers.
I will be very much asleep. And after the game, because I don't care much about the afternoon slate, I will take another quick nap, and then before the witching hour, I'll just turn on Red Zone because I really don't care about the early afternoon slate, and I'll be up late, and I'm just going to take a nice nap from whenever the game ends to 3 o'clock. So
love it, Doug.
You said something about the field. That's not the case as it was similar in Brazil, because the way that the Hotspur Stadium is set up, they have a football stadium field under their soccer field because they made it as a dual field because they knew they get these games. So that won't be.
Kevin O'Connell made a comment about the surface. That's why I kind of abided by that. He made a comment about the blank surface.
I know they have a football field under it, so they can do it. Like a lot of the stadiums in Europe have it because the soccer field is real grass and the football field is turf, and they don't want to fuck up the soccer field for the team that plays there every game. So they just have the turf under it. I think we're gonna win. That'll be fun. I really hope we don't lose because if it's an early day thing, it's just gonna ruin my whole entire day again.
Yep.
That's like last week after we lost. I didn't even want to watch the afternoon games. It's like this just ruined my day. I don't even want to watch football. I don't want to think about football. It was so miserable. And I was saying it to somebody last night. If we just made that field goal, would I have felt good about the win? No, but it's a win. So we made the field goal.
Exactly.
It counts.
It would have been gross, but it's like No, this is like the game where the Jets suck, and they come back and win because no one's expecting them to win. Like this is typical Jets football. And then this week we'll trade for Devontae Adams by Wednesday. He'll be in the lineup Monday night against the Bills, and Kumbaya will all be happy.
I like it.
That's how it's
You
gonna
gotta
go.
hope. You gotta hope.
No, yeah. I was like, oh my god, I almost missed the show. That's why we lost last week. We didn't do a pregame show, and I wasn't able to call in. So that's why we lost last week.
I think you
Yeah,
nailed it. We got to get you on before every game.
Yeah, I mean, the only game I won't be at is at the Patriots.
Yes.
I'll be there, but like it's the Patriots. Like, do we?
You
really
warned us of that. You warned us of that during our week 1 pregame show.
I'm
Doug.
but yeah, I thought you guys. Oh, thank God you did, because there's no chance in hell I would have woken up at 7:00. No offense, just to call in.
I didn't want to wake up at 7 to do the show. I would not take offense if you don't want to watch.
I'm gonna be up to like 3 at work, so I was like, not
That's
about.
Doug, final score prediction.
30-20 Jets. I think we kicked. I think we win easily. Also,
Love it.
Quick tip. So coming back with the time difference, it's not as bad if you're only there for a few days. I lived abroad for a summer.
Okay.
That was awful when you're getting back to adjusting in time.
Okay, yeah.
My body was just used to the new place I was living in. So coming back, it took me like 2 weeks to get back adjusted to the US time. If you're only there for a week, it's not that bad.
Yeah, so I came in. I landed Thursday morning, and then I'm leaving. I'll be back Monday. I got my flight lands back in New York. 3 p.m.
You
on
might be
Monday,
a little bit
so-
tired when you get home Monday, but like you won't have that much bad of a time difference change once you get back. Like the Monday, you'll be a little tired.
Awesome.
You go home and sleep. I would say if it's not an overnight flight, don't sleep on your flight. Wait to get home to do your sleeping. That's what I do.
Ooh.
I know it's hard to stay up on those longer flights, but just wait till you get home. That keeps and just sleep. So then you just have a longer sleep home, and that helps adjust back to it.
Doug, we appreciate the advice. Have a great, enjoy the game early tomorrow morning, and have a good night of work.
London. Enjoy London.
Appreciate it.
Guys, have a good time.
Appreciate
Thank you for not doing this at 7 a.m. tomorrow.
Of course. Doug, thank you for joining us. We do appreciate the call at the buzzer. But Matt, that'll do it for us. Another pregame show here in the books. We should have a clean slate for the rest of the season. No more kinks. We should be back at our standard 2 hours before the game starts for the rest of the season. Matt, like I said, another show in the books. Any final thoughts?
I love it. Jets are getting back in the win column this week because why not? It's a roller coaster ride of a season.
Let's do it. Hopefully the Jets come out with a win. I will be at the game as well as some many other Jet fans. If you see me, love to see you guys. Message me on Twitter. Love to meet up with you guys at the game alongside Matt O'Leary. I am your host, Connor Long, signing off. JTS Jets.